Web3 with Me is a discussion-style podcast about the ins and outs of Web 3.0, hosted by Zach French, known as Off Edge in the verse. From crypto to NFTs, DAOs to DeFi, we cover the abstract philosophical promises and the new business models enabled in this new decentralized world. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or watch the show on YouTube. Thanks and enjoy.
Zach French is a bar-certified attorney, and nothing expressed by Zach during Web3 with Me shall be considered legal advice. All the opinions expressed by Zach and his guests are solely their own opinions. All content in Web3 with Me is for informational purposes only. Zach and his podcast guests may maintain positions in the securities discussed during Web3 with Me.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for being listeners of Web3 with Me. I want to take a few seconds to tell you about my exciting new B2B offering. It is the mission here to educate. I sincerely believe Web3 can make the world better for more people. Businesses shouldn't be left out though, so I've launched the Web3 Coach. It's a bespoke education experience designed to help your team understand how Web3 affects your particular industry or company and identify opportunities unique to Web3. Whether you have a law or accounting firm with a growing number of clients participating in Web3 through crypto and NFTs, or you're a real estate syndicate looking for different ways to raise money, or teams just of fast-growing Web3 companies who want to understand your customers and your new teammates, I make sure you can talk the talk and leave feeling more confident about this crazy new world. Please take a minute to check out my website at theweb3coach.xyz. Thanks so much and enjoy the show. My guest today is Chris Harper. We met purely by happenstance at NFT NYC, but immediately hit it off. After this show, you'll know why. Chris is a general contractor by day to fund his passion for NFTs. He has an amazing show called The Ledge, where he interviews NFT artist James Lipton style. Super personal. He has big ambitions to create a Wikipedia database of profiles on all NFT artists. This one was one of the most true episodes to my slogan. We vibed hard in the verse about our eerily similar personalities and journey into Web3. LFG, baby. Let's start vibing. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you for having me on, Zach.
Yeah, we have an interesting meetup story. I always like to highlight that. We were both at the Fuck Render Gallery in Chelsea, New York. Not planned. I was meeting up with a friend of mine, Gavin Shapiro, and we just started chatting, and now it's turned into this, and it's great.
I remember I commented on your shirt. You were wearing a really cool shirt.
Yeah, that was the Wolf Dog shirt. Wolf Dog.
Your Wolf Dog shirt, that's right.
Yeah. My son actually loves that. He has the Wolf Dog sticker on his bed. So it's like, it goes, doesn't matter how old you are, everybody loves Wolf Dog.
My whole experience at NFT New York was just like that experience that you and I had. I just had so many cool connections with people that I'm still talking to today. It's really interesting, man, how that works.
It is. And that's honestly a recurring theme, I think, throughout is taking the next step from kind of a passive relationship on Discord or Twitter. And then, maybe video is the first option, but then IRL is like a whole new world, man. There's energy that you get from that.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I mean, I've made a lot of really cool friends, you included, Ben. I'm happy that we met in there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's just nice to talk to people that are just as enthusiastic about the space.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. I traditionally start these interviews with the same opening question. So I want to hear a little bit about you. What's your founding story, Chris?
Well, my name is Chris Harper. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, which is not too far from you. I'm actually formerly from Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for a lot of my adult life. I am a general contractor. I do construction. I do primarily big residential remodels on like beach homes for people that have second or third homes down here on the beach. So that's my primary business. I was kind of a crypto guy for the last 3 or 4 years. I was kind of into Bitcoin. I was kind of one of those Bitcoin maxis for a while. I used to go to some of the Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert, rallies and things like that. And I went
Defund the
down.
government.
Yeah, exactly. I love all that stuff, man. I'm really like, I'm really excited about crypto and like, the potential for the future for all of us and like decentralization and all of that. And I'd never heard of NFTs. I didn't know what they were. I had never. I really have never even heard of it. I didn't know what it was until the Beeple thing happened in March of 2021, where the big Christie sale for $65 million or whatever it was. And it was all over the news in Charleston, where I live, because Beeple lives here. And I'd never heard of him until then. So when I read about that, I just started kind of going down that rabbit hole. And I actually kind of onboarded into the NFT space through NiftyGateway. And man, once I started going down that rabbit hole, it's just you know how it happens. If you're on here listening, you're probably in the rabbit hole with us. So like, you get it, right? We're all in here kind of like, oh, what the hell? But it's just like peeling an onion, man. It just keeps, layers and layers and layers. And, eventually you find yourself on some, Web3 podcast talking about stuff you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about.
It's interesting. That is a lot of the, I don't know, I want to call it difficulty. I guess one of the hurdles to get through on this is like, who is your audience? And like, I've always kind of had this blended idea of like onboarding people along with like the legitimate use cases that I view, right? Like, people
Sure.
that are doing things besides that, but all the people that are doing things besides degenning, which is, code for collecting a lot of NFTs.
Just spending all your money.
Yeah.
Right.
Those people all started there, or they started in crypto.
Right.
I want to unpack your Bitcoin maxi journey a little bit. So you started off in crypto, Bitcoin. What was it that kind of led you into Bitcoin? Was it just like, was there a certain person or a certain place that you went or something like that?
Yeah, a friend of mine, and actually he passed away about a year ago through an accident. He had an accident in another country. My friend Matt was he was just bugging the crap out of me about Bitcoin for like, this was like 3 or 4 years ago. And he was telling me, how he made all this money and trading Bitcoin, and, he was converting Bitcoin into gold bars and like, burying them in the backyard. Like he was really, really, like he was one of those guys, right?
Wait.
Like,
quick aside. Did you go in his backyard after he passed? No, I'm just kidding.
I thought about it. He was just one of those guys that like didn't want the government into his business, just really kind of like paranoid, like, like a lot of the really Bitcoin people can be.
Hardcore libertarian kind of
hardcore libertarian type. You get it, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was just like, just stop talking to me about, like, I couldn't, it was just like magical internet money to me. I just thought it was just BS, right? And I did know about Silk Road, and I did know, I knew about all that stuff. Like, I dabbled in I dabbled in like the illegal substances for a while in the 90s and the early
Not
2000s. Me. I'm sober now. I've been sober for about 15 years, but prior to that, I was, I knew about that stuff, right?
Okay,
so I may have thought about like buying LSD on Silk Road at one point in my life.
Maybe.
Like it may have occurred to me. I don't know. And anyway, so I just thought it was just kind of a bunch of BS, and then a couple of years later, I was with some friends of mine that live in Vegas, and one of my friends was telling me about investing in crypto and showing me Coinbase was out, and just showed me the app, which I really had no idea about. I didn't know anything about it, and I started buying a little bit, and and my it was going up, so it was kind of when you're making money, it catches your attention.
And you want to tell other people about it.
And you start talking to other people about it, which is what I love to do. I love to run my mouth about stuff I don't have any idea about what I'm talking about, but I love to talk about stuff. So I'm telling all my friends, oh, you should buy Bitcoin. And, and I'm watching YouTube videos, and I'm going on Twitter, and I'm, just learning everything I can about it, and I'm putting money into it, and it just evolved into, I found like those guys I mentioned, like Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert, the Bitcoin maxis. I went to one of their rallies out in Austin, Texas. It was really a lot of fun. They, it's awesome, man. They like have big bags of orange pills and throw them into the audience, and all these guys that are Bitcoin maxis come and speak, and it's very interesting to get that perspective. I'm not really a Bitcoin maxi. I do believe that there's a lot of potential in other things. I like Ethereum a lot. I believe Solana is going to be big. There's a lot of things out there that have a lot of potential, I think. So I'm not just a Bitcoin maxi, but I am a crypto enthusiast, I would say.
Was NFTs kind of what led you to D-maxi? Were you feeling like a maxi at any point?
Well, I think that certainly has helped. If you've taken most of your crypto and converted it into NFTs, you're in a special section of like crazy people, and that's what I've done. So, there's a very small group of us out there that have, just taken that step. I believe in NFTs. Like I believe, that whatever we're doing right now will pay off. I think it's going to take some time, but I'm very optimistic about the future for NFTs for sure.
So when you heard about the Beeple sale, it's led to you exploring NiftyGateway. Were you onboarding as an individual, or did you have a group of people that you were interacting with or anything?
No, I had no idea what I was doing. So I had no help. I had no direction. And I just kind of jumped into it, which I know sounds a little bit crazy.
You got a high risk tolerance.
I do have a high risk tolerance, and I've always been into art. So the art aspect of NFTs really caught my attention. Like my whole life, I'm not an artist, but I'm an art appreciator, and I'm an art collector. I have art in my home. I'm into it, and so that aspect of it, like the digital scarcity, the provenance of it, of artworks, and all of those things really just kind of appealed to me. And I started to see that, that the flex utility of NFTs and the digital collectible world just was like we're so freaking early right now. So I think anything that's worth anything right now in the future is going to be worth a lot, so I do feel like it's all investment worthy, but I also know that it's a lot of it's a long-term hold. It's not going to be next year or next month. It's probably, we're looking 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road.
Which ones are you keeping an eye on through the bear market?
Well, I love all the POC stuff, so I'm kind of scooping a little bit of that as we go along. Anything Xcopy, I'm really into the historical NFTs, which is a weird word to say because it's also new, but there's a whole niche out there. I don't know if you know what Mycurio cards are, but I'm really into Mycurio cards. So I'm slowly but surely accumulating those and trying to get my end goal would be to have the whole collection, one of each.
Yeah.
And I like following some of the more popular artists. I love Ness Graphics.
Great work.
There's just so many.
Yeah. Who were you buying early on Nifty? I want to see how it compares.
So I regret some of my early purchases on Nifty, to be honest with you. I don't know if I really want to say anything disparaging against any particular artists.
That's totally fair.
But there are some artists that Nifty promoted pretty heavily. They had several drops in the kind of earlier days of Nifty, and and some of it was not cheap. I have some things that I paid thousands of dollars for that are worth literally nothing. you can look at the floor price of anything, and it's the floor price is whatever the lowest listed price is out there. But
which is not a liquidity premium included.
There's no liquidity. There's no buyers. There's zero buyers, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's just collectors being hopeful.
It's just collectors being hopeful, and I've got a pretty good bag of that kind of stuff. Which kind of, it took me a while. Honest to God, I didn't buy anything off of Opensea for probably, I'm just saying, it was like 4 or 5 months into it. I was just buying drops off NiftyGateway for like the first 4 or 5 months. I didn't even look at it.
I'm laughing not at you. I'm laughing with you because it sounds exactly like my journey.
Okay, good. I'm not the only.
I didn't even know what Metamask was for the first couple months.
I didn't use Metamask. I didn't know how to use. I was buying everything on a credit card. These are the days before I was thinking about what everything cost in ETH, right? Now I see everything
before it became monopoly money.
Now everything I think
of. It's only 0.1. That's
so
cool.
Think about how fast that onboarding is for us, Zach. I mean, we're like, right? I mean, 6 months later, we're like, I'm trying to guess what the price of anything I see in the world in ETH now.
I mean, I could put quantify mine. I would say I put, a good 20, 30K in initially, and then more than doubled that by towards the end of the year.
I'm right with you. I think that's probably exactly right about what I spent before I started to realize, like, this is kind of stupid, there's got to be some like market check here. Like, there's probably some stuff that'll hold for historical or artistic value. And there's certain collections like Bored Apes that'll have like that exception, right? That proves the rule and become like the good to have the status symbol. And they had, that those are all exceptions though, and they are just, I always tell people, they're like, so when you invest, like, what are you expecting? I'm like, everything but 1 or 2 things to go to zero. Everything's going to zero, right?
And I hope those 1 or 2 things earn me outsized returns at some point in the next 5 to 10 years. But I got to be realistic about it. It doesn't mean I slept any easier at night.
Hey, listen, I didn't stop buying stuff off Nifty. I'm very selective now about what I'm buying. And, I have some criticism about, I could criticize NiftyGateways. I really appreciate NiftyGateway for what they have done. I think connecting artists to collectors and digital collectibles and digital art and the NFT space, like NiftyGateways is doing something really, really awesome. Yeah. I think there's also some room for improvement. There's some things that they don't do that I wish they would do. Guys like you and me who've spent 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 on their platform. Has anyone ever reached out to you from NiftyGateway and said, like, hey man, can we, stuff like that really makes you stop and think, what's going on? Why don't they have, why don't they know that? And why isn't somebody from there reaching out to you and asking you, or helping you make selections, or, kind of directing you into things that are going to be of value to you. That Kath Simmard drop that just happened on Sunday. Were you watching that? Did you pay any attention to that?
No.
Do you know who she is, Kath Simmard?
I've heard the name, but no. Honestly, I'm just to give you a caveat here. Since I left my job to do this Web3 thing full time, I never thought this would be the case. Let me preface it with that. But I spend 80% less time on Discord and 95% less time finding ways to buy and research NFTs. And it's not intentional. It's just how it's happened.
You're focusing on your thing, your niche. You're carving out your own niche into Web3 right now. And that's, that takes a lot of focus. But I'm envious of that, man. What you're doing is I'm very envious. I think, I have the same idea, I have the same kind of idea for myself. I want to carve out my own little niche here. I feel like this is the future. There is so much potential for earning a living and making an income and kind of freeing myself from this job that I've had for the last 15 years, which I'm, chained to, I'm where I work is where I live is where I work, I'm not free to just come and go as I want. You know, if I'm working in the web, right, on the internet, like I can go anywhere. And I love traveling, and I love like exploring the world. I love the freedom of, you know, just being able to put a laptop in a bag and go anywhere, you know. And so that's kind of the freedom that I'm looking for, you know. My end goal is to be free, completely free, right?
Yeah, I guess with your industry, like you cannot do that, right?
No,
like,
I mean, I'm stuck. I mean, I'm here, you know. Prior to COVID, I was trying to, I have a lot of connection to Las Vegas. I have a lot of friends there. I used to kind of part-time live out there. And prior to COVID, I was literally trying to start a business like I'm doing in Charleston in Las Vegas. And I can just tell you that like splitting time just between those two places is incredibly difficult, you know, like in this industry. You know? Now, if I was working in Web3 and I could just throw my laptop in a bag and work from anywhere, I could work from here. I could work from Vegas. I could work from LA. I could work from New York. I could work from Bali. I could work from wherever I'm at, you know? And that's kind of what I'm talking about. That's the freedom that I'm looking for. I'm not getting any younger. You know, the world, time and the world's not slowing down, you know, like it's like everything's moving so fast.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know how much you want to share about your new ventures or anything, but I'd love for you to share as much as you're comfortable with. I think it's amazing. We've talked about it offline.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm you know, my idea has been for a long time in the last, and when I say for a long time, I mean the last year. And I was never thinking podcasts. So let's just get that straight. Like I never had podcasts, wasn't on my radar.
Yeah, maybe it'd be helpful to talk about your previous venture. Weren't you doing some writing before that?
So blog, I was thinking blog, like I was thinking of writing, you know, like, and my idea was to create more or less a compendium of artists, like think like Wikipedia for NFTs. And, you know, and so I had the idea like this NFT compendium where I would gather information on different artists, and then I would put it into, you know, and then transfer it into some kind of format that was searchable for people like me and you who were buying art that we didn't know anything about off the internet, you know, and before we buy it, there would be a place where you could go and kind of like research, who is this artist? Where are they from? What are they creating? What kind of other things have they created? Where can I buy their artworks? What's their floor prices on their stuff? Like, what's the liquidity of their stuff? Where do they sell their stuff? Like, what galleries are they in? Like, those questions, if you could find all those answers in one kind of neat place,
like one database,
would be very useful. And so I had this idea of like writing a blog, and then about, you know, interviewing an artist, writing a blog, maybe writing some threads, and then, you know, collating it into some kind of like database at some point. I'm not that techy, you know, like I don't have the, you know,
you're not going to spin this up on your own.
No, I could turn on a computer and get on the internet. You know, I can ask people questions. I'm good at like, you know, networking with people and talking to people. I'm good at all those things. But like coding or writing a website or building, you know, those kind of things are just way over my head. And so my fiance has been suggesting to me for quite some time, like, you should just do this thing as a podcast. Like, you should get the artist and interview them. You know, you have the personality to talk to people. Just do that. Start there. And I was like, no, I don't think I want to be on a podcast. It just seemed too cumbersome to me. Like, you know, I don't know, man. I just was very resistant to that idea. And finally, I just, you know, like I had a kind of spiritual awakening the other few weeks ago. I'm like, maybe I should just do a podcast.
Yeah. The writing's on the wall.
The writing's on the wall. Reach out to some artists, get them into a format like, I mean, this is so good that you're set up. I'm really like, I'm paying attention to what you're doing right now, and get them into this, do the interview that you want to do, and then transcribe that into the blog, transcribe that into the compendium, and then, you know, you can kind of go from there. Work off the interview first. So that's what I'm doing. I'm actually, you know, it's funny that you and I are talking today. My first interview is at 4:00 today. I'm gonna, and I don't have any of this kind of setup that you have. I'm gonna literally record it into a Twitter Spaces, for my first one.
Mhm.
I'm starting very simple. I feel like things that build off of themselves organically usually work the best. So it's very simple. Twitter Spaces. I'm meeting with an artist today. His name's Gavin Mueller. He's been collected by some huge names have him in their collection. Gary V's got one of his pieces, and Cosmo, and all these, like he's kind of got a little bit of notoriety right now because some big names have collected his work. He's a
Well,
young
definitely.
guy. He lives in Atlanta, so he's close.
Oh.
He's close by us.
Yeah.
He was working at Pizza Hut, and now he's like coming up like NFT star.
Wow, that's such a cool
I'm going to
story.
interview him. I'm going to interview him today, and then between now and my next interview, I'm going to write some threads about him, and I'm going to start working on my compendium write up.
I love that. Have you decided on there's a few things. One, you should, if you do start to get a few episodes in, Alan from Pretty Easy Podcasts, my producer, is amazing. So just think about that. He does all the editing and all that kind of stuff.
I
Big
absolutely, that's exactly what I need. Like when people are giving me suggestions, that I really appreciate that. I will definitely be talking to Alan.
Two, I don't know. This is weird how our journeys align so much. I just came. The only difference, I guess, is I came from the legal sales side of things, but nonetheless, same personality. My wife and I were sitting in bed, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to write," and she's like, "No, you're not. You're going to start a podcast." And I'm like,
"Are you kidding?"
I'm like, "Wait, I am?" She's like, "Zach, all you like to do is talk to people. Why are you just writing?" And she goes, "Honestly, you're not that great of a writer." I'm like, "Okay, well, you know me well." So I had a similar conversation. I don't know if yours was as frank as mine, but it was a
pretty much that.
One of the people that know us best, man. They know who we are.
Yeah.
I love that. And, I just, I love what you're doing. I think the idea is something that is needed, and it is in many ways a continuation of your early idea, right? It's just a different way of producing content. So I'm excited to see where it takes you.
I popped into my head a little while back, this old documentary that used to come on Bravo channel. It was called In the Actor Studio. And the guy that did the interviews, James Lipton, and he would sit down with these actors, right? Just like I'm planning on sitting down with these artists. And he would just ask them very candid, frank questions, like, where are you from? What did your parents do? What's your background? What's your education? Things like that. Things that help people get to know this person, and so like we're here on the collector side of things. You and me are collectors of NFTs and NFT art. And when we're collecting something, let's just say, I mentioned Ness Graphics, right? We both know who that is, right? And he's a very popular NFT artist. But you just see like this Ness Graphics, right? Who is this guy? What's his name? Where's he from? How did he go from, whatever he was doing to creating this, artwork that sells now for tens of thousands of dollars on the internet, and I'm FOMOing about like getting a piece of his,
and he's one of those artists that you were referring to earlier that I feel like has held up in the bear market because he's that good.
And his stuff's very, it holds its value very well. I actually hold two pieces by him, and I paid a lot of money for them, and they're worth a lot of money still today. And I'm happy that I collected those things. I would not have known about him if it wasn't for NiftyGateway, but I don't know anything about him personally. I don't know where he went to school. I don't know if he came from a fine art background. I don't know, I don't really know anything about him other than, I like his art, I collect it, and the floor prices held up pretty good through a bear market. Outside of that, what else do I know? Not much.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice to know more about him? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to like look and see like some more information if I wanted to connect further with this person and this artist, and that's kind of my idea. Honestly, I'm just trying to create something that I would want to use myself. The idea was born out of my own like kind of desire for it.
Yeah. To go beyond the 3 paragraphs you get on NiftyGateway.
Yeah. And so you call yours Vibing in the Verse Web3 with me. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm
My
thinking
wife
about.
came up with both of those.
I like it. It's good. It works, man. You got a nice logo. It looks good. It's a good like Vibing in the Verse. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
My idea is to call it The Ledge. Mine's going to be called The Ledge, and it's kind of a nod to the thing that we keep all of our most valuable stuff on, in one sense. And then on the other sense, I feel like we're standing on the ledge of this like vast crevasse of like possibility, and we're like, it's like, are we going to dive in and do this thing or what? You know what I mean?
If I jump, am I going to land in a pool?
Yes.
Am I going to land on concrete?
Right. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking, man. Like when I came up with the name, I don't know why. It just kind of caught my, I don't know. I thought it sounded good.
I have to say it kind of rhymes with my pseudonym, Off Edge.
Off Edge, I like it. Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll create NFTs so I can come on your show.
Well, maybe I actually the thought occurred to me recently, Zach, that maybe periodically I should interview a collector. Like try to have some collectors come on. Yeah. We're going to do all these artists. Like, why not at some point, like interview the collector and get from the collector's perspective, because the collector's perspective matters in all of this interaction. Right. Like these artists can create all the art they want, but if they don't have anybody buying it and they don't understand their collector mentality, it's all for nothing anyway. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's got to be kind of that synchronicity of collector, artist. We've all got to kind of vibe together.
We got to vibe in the verse, man.
That's right, man.
That is the truth. I definitely, I have one person that I would venture to say would be a top guest for your collector edition. It was my mentor in the space, who is been a fine art collector his whole life. Heck, Josh, you have been amazing for me. And he will come on and tell you like it is. He understands it from an artist perspective, right? And he understands how to judge art. I've built, and I'm sure you have too, a idea that art is something to me, and I want to see this expressed this way, and so on and so forth. But to be able to say like the color palette on this piece of art is off or stuff like that, that's where I'm kind of like, I haven't like studied fine art in that sense, you know? Right. Yeah. But I love that because it is true. I mean, especially in this space where it is so much speculation, where are the true collectors? And, the first podcast I went on was called FOMOverse Radio. Because I got into the Pack FOMO drop by accident. I literally just was like, oh, maybe I should try reloading the page, and got in that day. I was at my friend's house, like listening to Spaces while I was hanging out with him. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm just trying to get this drop. He's like, drop of what? But
they have no idea.
You had no idea. No. And then, if I'd sold it like right away, it was like a free, like 3 or 4 ETH in my pocket, even with the 50-50 split with Pack. But I was in it for the long haul because I wanted to see where it went. And there is some cool things brewing. I'm not going to spill the beans on anything, but the main thing that has been consistent in the space has been Austin Hamilton and FOMOverse Radio. And he is getting the artists and stuff like that because of like himself, but also like what FOMO represents, which is just like, hey, I'm just going to drop this token at a random time on a random day. If you get it, then you get your own channel in my Discord from one of the biggest artists in the world in Pack. And it's just such a unique social experience. Like it's not like Pack comes in there and is like, you guys should do this. Like he spent a little bit of time in there early on, or they spent a little bit of time in there early on, but like for the most part, it's just been us. Just been a group of people hanging out. And most people in there are well-intentioned, and most of the well-intentioned people burned as soon as he made it a high-tier burn,
right?
And all that. And it's been really cool to watch, man. But
so I listened to some of your podcasts, and I do know that you're a big pop fan. You're huge, yeah. More than me even, I think.
Yeah, he was the one I like. You got to find, I think, with a high speculation space, my theory is that you want to find the artist that is a blue chip in terms of, maybe top 5, top 10 artists in the world. And a lot of that's judged off money, but like money is also a good reflection of how interested people are in the art. But then the ethos, like just this idea that Pack creates creators, right? Like that is
it's so crazy. I know the last thing you just did, that Metamorphosis too, have you been buying pieces from that? Are you?
Yeah. So I had actually sold. I would say the most bullish I am on a PFP collection, and it's not because of price. It is honestly just because I love the community and the founders as dead fellas. And also it doesn't hurt that I've gotten 2 for free from like crazy, lucky, games that they play.
That's awesome, man. Wow.
But I was like, I'm never selling one. And then I was like, the Ash 2 came out and it flopped, and everybody was, basically since then gone downhill on Pack. And I was
Do you think it's going to stay flop? I think it's coming back. I got a feeling.
Dude, are you kidding me? Those artists are grade A. I bought 5 pieces. I bought 5 pieces and burned them for the Mad Dog one.
I bought 5 pieces and burned them myself. You're gonna die when you know which one it was. It's the Paris Hilton one, man. I just love that freaking piece so much, dude. Like,
good for you.
Number 1, I love Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton, if you're listening, I love you, baby.
Yeah. Beyonce, if you're listening, don't listen to this part.
No, man, I've always loved Paris Hilton. She's so cool, right? And she's an iconic figure in pop culture. Yep. She's one of the kind of thought leaders in the NFT
like the OG
space.
Influencer.
She's an OG influencer, and she's not really an artist, but she worked with an artist, that Sylvia Puff, to create that piece. Mm-hmm. And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh my god, I have to have this! I have to have it!" And I have one of the Form 1s and one of the Form 2s. And the Form 2 on her piece, there's only 12 of them. I mean, there's not that many. It's just kind of low numbers. So I mean, I don't know what it's going to be worth, but I feel like future value has got to be it's got to be worth a lot of money in the future. I just feel like it will be.
And I mean, that brings up a really good point, and one that you kind of highlighted but didn't say is you really like the work, right?
Yeah.
And if you yes, it 100%. This is still, you still have to have somewhat of an investor mindset.
Right.
In fact, we could go on a tangent about this in a second, but there is, one of my previous guests, Ryland Aldrich, brought up the kind of 3-ring Venn diagram of collector, investor, trader, as kind of the 3 different types of NFT collectors. But back to the other point, we'll get to that, is when you truly connect with a piece of art and you like the artist for who they are, I mean, even if it goes to 0, which we both have expressed that we realize most of our stuff is going to 0, you don't care. You honestly, and as soon as someone figures out a cost-effective way for me to put all this stuff on my walls that I trust, I'm going to start doing it. I have had people over for dinner parties, and I've airplayed onto my Apple TV. And people love it, dude. I put Gavin Shapiro.
There's a good reason why I like you so much, Zach. You and I connect right from the beginning. There's a reason, because I think exactly the same thing. This shit's going on my house, in my walls, in my house.
Yeah. Somebody find me a good way to do it, please.
They don't have the technology; just does not exist yet, man. They got what they have right now is just trash.
It's trash, and it's $1,000 for a frame that's a 5x7.
Stupid. It's stupid.
Are you kidding? And you know what's funny is that's the first counter argument that I got for the first 6 to 8 months I was in it by everybody, is always, we can't put it on your wall. And I'm like,
right.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I do, but that's not really what it's about. Right. But they are not wrong. If I could have my art all around my house rotating and changing upon like my mood, right? Or season or something like that, right? Like,
I'm into it, man.
do you collect any Gavin Shapiro at all?
I don't, but I know his work. I'm familiar with it. I know he was one of the Ash artists, so he had the penguins. He's the penguin guy, right? And
Penguin and Flamingos. Yeah.
Penguins and flamingos. I love it. Yeah.
So a little bit of
I'm not a holder, but he's like, I have a list. I have a spreadsheet in Excel of like people I want to collect, and his name's on my list.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, listen, he's in it for all the right reasons. I love his ethos, but I have to say I have an unfair advantage in terms of the fact that when I asked you earlier, when you onboarded, were you onboarding individually? I did not. I got lucky. I did not have to onboard individually. I had my friend Josh that I was introduced to through a friend in Atlanta, and Josh is friends with Gavin way before NFTs. In fact, Gavin was the one that called him up. I was like, "Is this NFT stuff for real?" In like mid 2020. So like kind of early on, but like when I show his work to people, whether they're my 4-year-old son or my 65-year-old mother-in-law's boyfriend, they're like, this is awesome. I would love to be at a house at a party where that music is playing on repeat and that image is showing.
That'd be so dope. It'd be so cool. Yeah, I'm into it. I mean, I get that. I have some really cool like pieces that I would love to put in my house.
Yeah,
for sure. I hold a moonbird. I have a moonbird. I'm an OG moonbird. I got it from the raffle. I won it.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I got my hoodie moonbird. And I went to the moonbird party in NFT NYC this year when I met you. And one of the groups that they had there on site was the people from Token Frame. You heard of Token Frame?
Oh, absolutely.
Like they had these 2 sales reps from Token Frame, and they had some of their like frames there, and they were doing a thing. And I held those guys hostage for like 30 minutes. Man. I was just really well, yeah, because the technology it's just not efficient enough. It's not affordable enough, and like they don't have it together enough yet for what we need to do what we want to do. And it's 2022, man. Like we should be able to do this, right? We should be able to hang digital artwork on our wall. Like, why can't we do that?
The comparison in terms of pricing should be to Ledger, right? I paid $120 for my Ledger. It secures all of my valuable NFTs and my crypto.
Besides my house, the most expensive stuff in the world that I own is this thing right here.
Exactly. But it cost me $100, more or less. So like,
right.
Why am I paying $1,000 just to show it? Right. Like, I don't agree with that necessarily. So I get where you're coming from. I do want to ask you though, regarding Moonbirds, what are your thoughts on the move to CC0?
Well, listen, I don't think the CC0 thing matters that much, to be honest with you. I don't really care. Like
it's a non sequitur for you.
It isn't. What I'm really disappointed in with Moonbird so far is the communication. I think they're screwing it up. Okay, here's what I think. I think that they're approaching this thing where it's like, and I get it. We're in Web3. It's all decentralized, like like, and they're kind of approaching it from that mentality. And they're kind of running their business that way, where it's just like they have too many voices. Like, they got that AKA Stevie, who's the Discord person, and Justin Mazzell, who's like the artwork guy, and Kevin Rose, who's the CEO, and then Ryan Carson's not even in there, but he's over here, and it's like too much mixed message. I think Kevin Rose needs to step up, take charge of the communication to Moonbirds, cut out all the bullshit and all the noise, and like he's the voice that we want to hear, right? We don't want to hear from all these other people. Not that their opinions don't matter, and not that they're not like very bright, intelligent, wonderful people with great intentions.
Right.
But I think like the message is very muddled in the Moonbirds community, and people are really disappointed by that. And there's a lot of confusion. I think they're going to be just fine. I know the floor price went down to like 14 this morning or something. I heard. I don't even know that.
You poor thing.
Well, it's pretty bad considering that my Moonbird was worth 60 ETH at one point.
I forgot how quickly they just went pew.
Right. At one point, I could have sold my Moonbird for 60 ETH. It would have been close to 100. It was like $90-something thousand, $98,000 or something.
Yeah.
And today it's worth, much less than that. So floor prices do matter. Like you can say whatever you want. Like all this, like collecting art for art is, you hear it a lot on Twitter, and people say it all the time. And a lot of artists like to kind of press that message. Are you familiar with like Drift? You know who Drift is? He's the guy who takes all the pictures from like the tops of.
Oh, is that the dude that's always taking a picture of his feet from the top of a skyscraper?
Yeah, I mean his one of his pieces is the cheapest thing he's got for sale is like 60, 70 ETH.
Okay.
But he's like one of those big guys. It's like I always promote like art for art. It's easy to say when you're selling your pieces for 70 each, dude. Right?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's a good point. I mean, think about like
if it's worth zero. If I pay $2,000 for a digital artwork and it goes to zero, I would have been just as well off to right-click save it. Like, what's the point of holding? Like honestly, right? So I mean the price does matter.
You could compare it to fine art too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that there are serious collectors that are out there trying to find artists before they're big, but they are trying to find artists before they're big for cheap. What we are doing is we are finding a bunch of artists in a big space that a lot of people are overcharging for their work. And yes, the thing that leads to people collecting more of a fine artist is how much it sells for at an auction. Right?
Absolutely.
It's like or how much of a tax write-off you can get, which is like 80 to 90% of fine art, right?
If I can buy it for $100, I'll just might as well buy the cool thing I saw on the sidewalk sale out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I know you didn't buy the Moonbird for the art.
I did not. And honestly, with the exception of very, very, very few selective pieces that I'm collecting now, I'm not buying anything for the art anymore. Like. There are some things that I feel I like the art, and I also feel this artist has future. This has got something. This has got legs. It can run.
This is a good segue. Actually, I want to ask you one question. So it sounds like, actually, I don't want to presuppose anything. I'm going to let you self-select. In that earlier tri-circle Venn diagram. And I'm assuming it's a Venn diagram. Feel free to disagree with me if you don't see it as a Venn diagram, because I do feel like there are certain overlapping characteristics between all three.
I'm with you. Yes,
yeah,
I do. Venn diagram all the way, for sure. All of us have some kind of interconnectedness, for sure.
So I want to know where you started, where you see yourself as when you started in the Venn diagram, when you first started collecting, to where you are now, and why.
At my core, Zach, I have always been a hodler. I'm a hodler. I am not a trader. I am not good at trading because I'm not a good seller. I don't like to sell my stuff. Like I'm a hodler, like hardcore. So I mean, I really am like kind of a collector. I guess I'm mostly a collector because I buy things that I want to hold long term. I have done very poorly at flipping NFTs. The little bit that I have experimented with that has been pretty it's been pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. I just don't have that. I'm not a great like stock trader. I'm not a great like NFT flipper.
Why is that, do you think?
I think my weakness is that I don't like to sell. I'm always like waiting on the thing to go up more, get squeeze a little more out of it, what's going to happen tomorrow? If I sell it today, it'll probably go up tomorrow. I don't want to sell it. I mean, that's just in my head. So I am.
So
I think to be a good trader, you got to have like you got to be a little sociopathic about it. Like no feelings, just it's no emotion in it. It's all technical analysis and just like trading on.
Boom. Go.
Yeah. I don't have that. I got too much emotion about stuff.
So do you feel like so I guess we never really defined what I see or what Ryland saw kind of as the difference between a collector and investor. But, an investor I look at is a slightly shorter time horizon, right? Like not a forever holder, whereas a collector for the most part is probably going to hold for the long term. Right.
So I do overlap into the investor category. I am buying things that I am hoping will go up. And if they go up to the targets that I think they will, I'm going to sell them. I'm not collecting
So do you
them
set
for
those
life.
ahead of time in writing?
I do. I have a spreadsheet in Excel, and I try to stick with it. I've done okay, you know.
There's always
The bear market's happening right now, so everything's just not working. You know, nothing's going the way I want it to go right now. I don't think it's going like anybody wants it to go right now.
Yeah.
But I have some targets.
Nice.
You know, I bought some land in the metaverse, you know, on the other side, a coda, and you know, some stuff I put some pretty substantial ETH into, and you know, I'm waiting on target numbers for those. You know, when they hit, I'm gonna sell them. I'm not married to them.
Yeah, you're not playing the other side game. It doesn't sound like.
I will tell you the things that I'm planning on long-term holding, collecting, the things that I'm not planning on selling.
Yeah.
My Mycurio card collection, I am not planning on selling. I'm planning on passing that down to my kids. You know, it's the first art project on Ethereum blockchain. Like it's the OG. You know, like, and it's grossly undervalued in my opinion right now. And I mean, there are some of them that are quite expensive, but I mean, you could buy. There's some Curio cards you can buy right now for $300 or $400, you know. And I'm just, as I, you know, have extra money, I'm, you know, make extra ETH from flipping this or flipping that. I'm sticking it into those historical NFTs, and I'm putting them in my vault, and they're not coming out. And my kids will get them, and hopefully their kids will get them, you know, because I feel like they could have an immense value in the future.
What about was there other artists that you plan on collecting versus investing in?
Well, I mentioned that Kath Simmard, who had a drop on Sunday on NiftyGateway, which was really hyped up on Twitter. She's a photographer, but she does, but it's not just pure photography. It's kind of like layered photography. She's an incredible artist. She goes on these journeys into Patagonia. She hikes in Patagonia and takes these like landscape photographs, which are like really, really, really cool. If you want to see her work, you can look it up on NiftyGateway.
I'll pull it up. So during the show, like when we go back, I can actually pull up visuals and stuff. And actually, I could probably do it during the show. But
she had an auction. She had an auction on Sunday. One was a piece. One was an edition of 11, and the other was an edition of 44. And I knew the edition of 11 was going to be out of touch. You know, just the price. I knew the prices were going to go out of my comfort zone. But I thought I had a chance at the edition of 44. I bid like my top bid was like 1.8 ETH or something, and I got outbid. I didn't win. You know, so it went over that on an edition of 44. And I think the floor price right now for her, the cheapest thing, was like 6,000 or 7,000. So. You know, I mean, like, A, I like her. B, I like her art. And C, she's got the potential to like for her stuff to just go like crazy. Yeah. Just like that guy Drift who does the shots of where my vans go. You know, like I mean, the cheapest thing you can buy from him is, you know, 60 ETH.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, it's crazy. You know, so. I like stuff like that. I'm really into it. You know, we've mentioned Ness a few times. There's another artist who I really am into, and I didn't go into this story with you. I think you and I talked about it on the phone the other day. Was Snuffy? I don't know if you had a chance to look at any of Snuffy's work. Early on, when I was buying things on NiftyGateway, I saw a drop from this artist named Snuffy. And Snuffy is a tattoo artist who has a very particular style. It's all black and white. It's very arty, and he's done tattoos on some very famous people. And you can Google who, and you know. But I mean, like, you know, Pete Davidson, Machine Gun Kelly. You know, just people like that have gotten tattoos from Snuffy. He's New York based. He had a drop on NiftyGateway called the Addiction series, which I connected with. I told you I'm in recovery. I have, I'm a recovering alcoholic addict, from 2007. And so I I had a connection to that. That drop and that artwork, plus the tattoos, which, obviously I like tattoos.
I thought those were just sleeves you put on for the show to look tough.
I was like, I was like all in on this deal. And so there was an auction for a 1-of-1 piece from Snuffy. And if you won this piece, you were entitled to use that token as a tattoo. You were able to go to Snuffy and get a tattoo from Snuffy, which I just thought was so cool, man. Like, this is like real life use case for an NFT, right? And I mean, like the connections in my head, it was just like, it was mind blowing. It went out of my comfort zone price wise, man. I bid it up to 4,000, and the guy that won, I think, was like closer to 5,000. At 4,000, I just tapped out. I was like, okay, it was more money than I wanted to spend in that moment. And I did not win the auction, but I tracked down Snuffy on the internet. I found him on Instagram. I tracked him down. I messaged him, and I somehow convinced him to let me get an appointment. He's very hard to get an appointment with.
Sounds like
I got an appointment with him.
Nice.
And it was closer to $5,000 to get an appointment with him. He's not cheap. So I should have just bought the damn thing.
I know, at least you would have the NFT too.
I know. Yeah, it's whatever. This is where you live and learn, right? And so I didn't win, but I did get an appointment with Snuffy, and I did go get a tattoo from Snuffy. Snuffy's got this whole thing. You cannot go to Snuffy with a picture and be like, I want a tattoo of this on me. He doesn't do that. That's not what he does. You write a story, your story, you send it to Snuffy. Snuffy creates a tattoo for you, and then you go get that tattoo. That's how that works.
I kind of want to do that. Cool. My wife would kill me, but I kind of want to do that.
Dude, it's such a cool thought. It's art. It's not just
right.
So I go to New York. I get this tattoo from Snuffy. It's not anything what I was thinking. I wanted some tattoos on my ribs. I ended up with a tattoo on my leg. It was a whole thing. I'm very happy with what I got. And the greatest gift of the whole thing was that I became really good friends with Snuffy. And so, I'm watching his stuff go, and he's had several projects that he's released in the last year, and I've just been in that Discord and been on a front row seat watching all of this unfold. And if anybody's interested in more information about Snuffy or Snuffy stuff, you can always message me. I'm happy to talk about it. But it's really cool, to be in that community and watch that all happen, and to have been onboarded in real life with the person, So I've gone up to New York a couple of times. I've gone to one of his he's also a traditional artist. He builds these light box things with, and he's got some a gallery show up in New York that I went to a grand opening of. And, I was able to connect with him in NFT NYC, and it's just really cool, man, to watch somebody's career and their art take off through NFTs and through this space, and just to be, like I said, in a front row seat and watch it all happen. It's awesome, man. I feel so lucky, that I was exposed to this when I was.
And if it wasn't for NFTs, you wouldn't have been exposed to at least this particular artist, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been exposed. If it wouldn't, I'm so lucky that I was exposed to this world of Web3, NFTs, all of it. I mean, I could have missed it. I could have missed it. A lot of people have missed it, and
a lot of people have dropped it because they don't see the value. They don't go beyond the prices, and you are very real. You understand that prices are a part of it, but this relationship that you built with this artist, you aren't in it because it's a status signal. You're in it because you can relate. You're in it because you love the work, and you're in it because you love the community that Snuffy is building, right? It's amazing.
I want to see Snuffy succeed. I want to see you know, I want to see all these guys and gals succeed. You know, I want to see you succeed. You know, I want to.
Same here. That's
yeah.
this
You know,
whole
I mean,
thing. Yeah.
and dude, that's what's so nice about this. You know, like find a community like that. There's not. I'm
That to
50 years
me,
old, Zach.
yeah.
You know,
That,
like
yeah.
I've not found this in my lifetime. You know, like
When would we have connected any other time if it wasn't for
no, I don't
NFT
think we.
NYC?
I don't know
Yeah.
what we would have.
Or
You know,
Web3.
like
Just wouldn't.
you know
That
what would have brought.
not that connection with people with like I'm a lawyer and salesperson in tech. Like we just
Right.
like just by virtue of having stance has nothing to do with the type of people we are. Obviously, we're very similar types of people, but
Sure.
but like just by virtue of you being in a city that not my city, and you doing a totally different line of work, right? Like there's just nothing there, but we do have in common the what I call the purest view of WAGMI, which is not about we're all going to make it money wise, which obviously it is important to make it money wise, but
Sure.
we're all going to make it in the sense that we have this shared vision of like this better future that Web3 can bring to people. And whether it's through the art or through the technology, like that's what's going to happen. I do want to transition as we're hitting the top of the hour to my final closing questions.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you both of them, and then I'm going to let you, kind of sound off for a second.
Okay.
So one of the closing questions is, how do you explain Web3 to people? And then the other one is, what are your long-term and short-term visions for the space? And when I say long-term and short-term, I mean long-term 5 to 10 years, short-term 6 to 12 months.
Great questions, both of those. Thank you for having me on, Zach. Really,
yeah, it's been
really
great.
Appreciate it.
I wish I could just stay on for a few hours.
No, this conversation's been amazing. I was worried about what I would say for an hour, and this hour went by so fast. So I'm really happy that we had this conversation. It's been very interesting. Getting to know you better is awesome. So the first question, repeat the first question for me.
So I typically, up until this show, have asked, how do you define Web3? But I want to be a little less.
So how do I define Web3? It took it took like some onboarding for me. Once I got into Nifty Gateways and started collecting NFTs, like I had to like teach myself, like, what is this thing? Then I thought, how do I explain this to my friends and my family, right? And so my fiance and I we just started writing some blogs. Like that's what we did. We would write little like WordPress blogs and post them on Instagram. And I started bombarding all my friends and all my family with these blogs for about 6 months until people just got so sick of hearing about it that like people would actually like tell me like, please stop sending this to me. Like, please stop. So I made my own like little Instagram page that's just my Web3, like chrisharper.eth. And I post stuff there, and I post my buys and sells and blogs and things from that. So my friends and family that want to follow it and want to learn more about it can, but I'm not bombarding it in their face. If they don't want to hear about it, they don't have to. Short term, I think that we are certainly in a bear market. I think that this bear market is going to be persistent. I don't think it's going away soon. I think we're going to be in it until late 2023. That's my guess. I think that we're headed for a recession. I believe we're in a recession, as a country already. I'm feeling it in my own industry. I think Web3 is going to feel it. I think we're all going to feel it. I don't know if it's going to be as bad as what we've experienced in the past. I don't think we're in for. Hopefully, my guess is it's not going to be as bad as like 2007, 8 stuff. I don't think we're in for the big crash, but I do feel like things are going to tighten up, and I don't know where it's all going to go. But this is a great time to build. So like people like you, people like me, artists that are here, all the projects that are here that are heads down building right now, I feel like when this thing kind of comes out of the bear market into the bull run that I believe is going to happen in 2020, late 23, 24, especially with the Bitcoin halving in 24, I think we're going to see a massive bull run, like like a melting faces bull run. I believe that.
You wouldn't be the first person to say melting faces is the long term.
I do believe that the bull run that's going to come from the halving of Bitcoin in 2024 is it's going to be unreal. Like, you know, but Bitcoin already touched $70,000, $69,000. Like, what's next? You know, I think we're well into the six figures. And some very smart people think that we're into the $1 million range in the 2020s, you know, for Bitcoin. So if that happens, it will drag up the price of ETH and everything else with it. And, you know, the stuff that we have and the stuff that we're holding on to could become immensely valuable in the future. And that when that happens, people will be paying attention. You know, when people are creating generational type wealth from crypto, from NFTs, from digital art and digital collectibles, the world will wake up and be paying attention. It's coming. I don't have a crystal ball. My best guess is like 2024 is when I think we're in for the next big run up. I'm here in the meantime, and I am planning on just carving out my little niche here, man. You know, yeah, man. We're just here doing it. I want to. The guys like us that are here early and stay, I think we're going to have a really good foothold into the future. And you know, in the future, when the masses are adopting NFTs and it becomes mainstream, all of those people are going to be looking to people like you and to people like me and to people that have been here for information on, you know, what is all of this and how does this work for me and how do I fit in here? And, you know, we're going to be the OGs at that point, you know, and that's kind of, you know, what I'm hoping for.
I love that. I love that I can, you know, kind of empathize with your vision of kind of saying, oh, hey, you haven't checked out the latest Ledge release, right? Like, what did the Ledge release last week on this new emerging artist, right? Like, I think that is a very legitimate possibility. I don't think that it's going anywhere. I think a lot of it plays on human nature, and guess what? We're still human for now. We're only partly cyborg because of our phones, so we'll see where it's going.
True. That's true.
Yeah. Man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I really enjoyed it. I have a feeling we're going to be friends for a long time.
For sure, Zach.
Yeah, man. I look forward to kind of blossoming this relationship a bit more. But thanks
a lot,
a lot,
man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining Web3 with me. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review, as it'll help us reach more people. If you want to connect with me personally, you can find me on Twitter @offedge_. Thanks for vibing in the verse with me, and hope you'll join us next time.